There's a Charlottetown Toyota keychain on it. So if that's you, you can come find me or Kim afterwards. I'll have them right in my pocket. Okay, so we'll begin today's ceremony by our land acknowledgement. We recognize that the place we call home is on the unceded, unsurrendered, ancestral, and present-day lands of the Mi'kmaq Nation called Mi'kma'ki. We recognize this as a small but meaningful step in reconciliation and the continued efforts of a strong nation-to-nation relationship. We are all treaty people. Thank you. So again, folks, what a great night it's morning, I guess it is, to be here now. Welcome to our campus guests, athletes, coaches, alumni, supporters, and of course, what a spectacular class of 2025 inductees we have. I want to thank Acadia Athletics and the Acadia Alumni Association for everything they do to help support these events and organize things. Should be a great one here. It's going to be a hard one to top as I was going through these inductees. What a fantastic class. So I'll begin here now by taking a moment to share a brief history and purpose of the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame. The hall was first inaugurated during Homecoming 1998, with inductions traditionally held every other year. But the incredible achievements, contributions, and lasting impact of so many athletes, coaches, teams, and builders have inspired this to now become an annual event. This change allows us to celebrate more of the remarkable individuals and groups who have shaped the proud and enduring legacy of Acadia Athletics. So we have three categories of folks going in here. We'll describe a little bit about each of those. In the athlete category, we aim to recognize former Acadia student athletes who competed with distinction at the highest level of intercollegiate athletic competition available during their time here at Acadia. Through their outstanding performance and lasting contributions to Acadia's athletics program and to university sport in Canada, these individuals have enhanced the reputation of our proud institution. So we have a builder category as well, where we celebrate those whose leadership, dedication, and vision have helped shape the foundation and success of Acadia Athletics. These are the individuals whose behind-the-scenes contributions have made a lasting impact on generations of student athletes here and the growth of all of our programs. And finally, in the team category, we honor groups of athletes who together achieved extraordinary success and exemplified the spirit of teamwork, perseverance, and pride that define Acadia Athletics. Their collective accomplishments continue to inspire axemen and axewomen to pursue excellence both on and off the field. Today, we're proud to induct 6 such individuals and 1 legendary team who have added to the absolute fabric of Acadia Athletics. So with that, we'll start some introductions here and some welcomes. I'd like to now introduce Acadia's president, Dr. Jeff Hennessy, for some words of welcome on behalf of the university.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. On behalf of the faculty and staff and the students at Acadia, welcome to this year's inductees, families, alumni, student athletes, and supporters. This is always a wonderful event every year, and I know it is inspiring to our current student athletes. And athletics at Acadia just plays such an important role. For the students, it's a chance to pursue excellence and be community role models. My son grew up in this community playing basketball and admiring and being coached by student athletes. And our athletes go on to do amazing things in life because their experience at Acadia trains them to be successful, like our Hall of Fame inductees. Our athletics program is also where the local community gets its sports. Whenever I go to alumni events, I hear stories of the packed gyms and stadiums during the time when people are there. Literally, I was in, where was I? I think it was St. John, and there was 2 guys that were arguing about the 87-88 basketball team. And literally, like, who scored what? It was just down to the details. It was amazing. And I go to as many athletic events as I can now, and I can tell you that there's still that same energy and support in the rooms for our athletes, and that means the world to me as president. So thank you to our coaches, our athletic staff who organized this event, and the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. I also want to just personally single out Jim MacLeod, who, when I first started out as a faculty member here years ago, Jim was one of the more experienced faculty members. I was one of the new ones who didn't know what I was doing, and Jim was so kind to me. There were a few that were, just kind of were real sort of gentle, kind people who said, it's going to be okay, you're going to learn how to do this, and so it's great to be able to honor Jim today, so thank you. So thank you to the inductees for serving as the best examples of what Acadia offers to the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hennessy. And now we'll please welcome Nancy Handrigan, Vice President, External Relations, for some remarks on behalf of the Acadia Alumni Association.
Thank you. Almost tripped on the president on my way up. Okay, we're off to a great start. It's so great to see such a wonderful group here today of alumni and friends and varsity athletes and coaches. Welcome, and staff, of course. On behalf of the Associated Alumni of Acadia University, welcome home. Great to have you here. The Board of Directors of the Alumni Association is meeting right next door, so I'm speaking on their behalf. They represent 46,000 alumni worldwide, so many of you in the room, and they are very proud to sponsor this incredibly important event. And the Alumni Office and the board are certainly looking forward to welcoming you all to the barbecue right after this event. I haven't met all of the inductees yet today. Chris and Darren, Emma, I certainly know, and has been on the board of directors of the Alumni Association. And Janna, I don't know if you remember me, but I remember you when you were a student and have followed your career. Who doesn't know Jim MacLeod? Put your hand up. And of course, when I started at Acadia in 1988, we were still riding the wave of the 87-88 basketball team, so welcome home. As a proud grad of the class of 92 and someone who's spent the last 13 years meeting alumni on behalf of Acadia, you bring pride to the university and the Alumni Association through your many accomplishments during and since your time at our alma mater. So we hope you're just as proud of the university as we are of you, and all we ask is that you share your Acadia story wherever you go and your Acadia spirit, and wave that flag because it helps us more than you know. Enjoy this moment, which marks, once again, your place in Acadia's books, history books, and know that we're with you every step of the way. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nancy. And now, before we formally begin today's inductions, please join me in welcoming Acadia's Director of Athletics, Brian Finnis, for some remarks on behalf of the Athletics Department and Acadia Sport Hall of Fame Selection Committee.
Is that going to stay? Maybe not. I promise this is the last speech before we get into the reason we're here and the good stuff, which is the inductees and the videos. But obviously, thank you for being here. Like, such a great turnout, and obviously very well deserved with all the fantastic inductees. You know, I've got a few thank yous that I want to go through, and I want to start with the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. I know some members of that committee are here today, but to Haley, John, Stephen, Donnie, Una, and Maddie, thank you very much for your time and your dedication to Acadia in helping with the selection committee for this Hall of Fame event every year. I'd like to thank our administration. You heard from President Hennessy, you heard from Nancy, Aaron, our VP Finance Admin is also here. We are very fortunate here at Acadia to have fantastic support from our administration. You heard Jeff mention, they come to everything, whether it's this event, whether it's a football game later today, whether it's a rugby game this past, they're at everything. And that doesn't happen very often in youth sports. And so we're very fortunate and very lucky, so thank you for the continued support. You've heard it already, but I certainly want to thank the Alumni Association. They've been a great partner for athletics for a number of years and are a real driving force behind this event in particular. And so thank you to the Alumni Association as well. And certainly, last but not least, to the athletic staff, the people behind the scenes. For the inductees, you would have received emails from a few different people, Kim or Chris or Len or some of the others. We have a tremendous team that are behind the scenes that, you know, are here at 6:30 this morning, 7 o'clock this morning, getting this set up, and are going to leave here and go make sure a football game goes off and then a basketball game. And so I know there's a number of them here, but Kim, Chris, Krista, Len, Curtis, Whitney, any of the staff that are here, thank you guys so much for the work you do behind the scenes in events like this and day to day in our department. I get asked all the time, you know, what's some of the exciting things, or what are the things you look the most forward to in your job? And without question, I always have the same answer. I love going to games. I love watching our student athletes play and perform. But this event is always a highlight every year for me. One of the coolest things I get to do is to make that phone call to the inductee I know that when the committee has selected who it's going to be, and I call, and their reaction, I can't describe it. Last summer I was able to make a phone call to someone who was a close friend of mine when I was a student athlete here, many years ago, and it was such a cool experience. This year I got to make a phone call to the person that recruited me here, in Coach Nutbrown, and again, I think back 25 years ago when I first got here, those connections that we still have, and so. But one of the other things that I love about this event is our current student athletes. There's a number of them here right now, get to hear about and celebrate those that came before them. And I hope to those student athletes that are here now, the ones that are present day, please take a moment to say thank you. Please take a moment to introduce yourself to some of these inductees, because you get to do what you do because of the work that they did laying that foundation many years ago. So there's not many opportunities we get to do that. So when we do, it's such a special moment. To the inductees, obviously, congratulations. I've had a chance to meet and speak with all of you in the last number of months, and getting to read the history and some of the bios of each of you is always it always amazes me, the things that people have achieved and accomplished, not just here but even after here. I know this can be a quick weekend. I know it can go by very quick, but I hope that all of you have had a chance so far, or will continue to have a chance to reconnect with friends, teammates, coaches, people you maybe haven't seen in 20 or 30 years, and just like that, it's like nothing has changed. And I hope you get to do that today. I hope you you get to continue that this afternoon. I hope you will join us at the barbecue, the football game, and all the other things that we have going on. And most importantly, to the inductees again, I want to say thank you. Thank you for what you did while you were a student athlete here. Thank you for your continued support of our current student athletes in Acadia Athletics. Have a great day.
All right, thank you so much, Brian. So it's time to get started and officially honor our 2025 inductees into the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame. As mentioned earlier, we're set to celebrate a very special group who have all left a lasting impact on Acadia, from all Canadians, AUS champions, national medalists, and a legendary builder who has helped shape generations of student athletes. These inductees exemplify the highest level of athletic and academic excellence and commitment here at the university. This morning, we celebrate not only their success in sport, but the resilience, dedication, and passion that define Acadia Athletics. So before we get started, I guess I'll invite Brian back up to the stage to assist with the presentations. Thank you very much. And we begin today with Chris Rhora, one of Acadia football's most iconic players on the defensive side of the football. He was a pivotal member of Acadia's 1981 Vanier Cup winning football team. Please direct your attention to the screen for more on Chris.
This morning, we celebrate the legacy of Chris Rhora, an axeman whose relentless defense, leadership, and heart helped define a golden era of Acadia football. A late starter to the sport, Chris arrived in Wolfville in August 1979 after a timely call from Dr. Bill MacLeod and immediately became part of history. He helped the Axemen capture the 1979 AUAA Championship and Vanier Cup, and 2 seasons later, powered Acadia to the 1981 AUAA title and Vanier Cup. Individually, his resume is one of the finest in program history. 1981 AUAA All-Star, 1981 CIAU All-Canadian Defensive End, 1983 All-Canadian Defensive End, and 1983 Acadia Male Athlete of the Year. His career excellence was later recognized with a selection to the 1980s All-Decade Football Team. Together with his teammates, he is also part of championship lore. His 1981 Vanier Cup team enshrined in both the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame and the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame. Asked for a favorite memory, he points to the perfection of that second national championship season, an Axemen team that finished the job, and a year he capped as an All-Canadian. But the memories that endure most are about people. Teammates who became lifelong friends, coaches who shaped his character, and a community that felt like home. He speaks with gratitude about coaches Hewart, MacLeod, and Paloff, lessons of honesty, integrity, and discipline that guide his own teaching and coaching today. The call for his Hall of Fame induction left him speechless. He calls it the finishing touch on an unforgettable Acadia career and offers this to young athletes. Don't give up on your dreams. Work hard, dream harder, and go get it. For 5 remarkable years, Acadia shaped who he is, and he in turn helped shape Acadia football. We proudly welcome Chris Rhora into the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame.
All right, please welcome to the stage, Mr. Chris Rhora. All right, Chris, congratulations again. Such a great video and a great time here at Acadia. So you said in that video, is noted, that Acadia actually chose you after, that 1979 recruiting call. Take us back into that week in your life. What did you hear on that call? How fast did things seem to move? And ultimately, why did you say yes to Acadia?
It was a call out of the blue. There's no question about that. I was a typical high school graduate, thinking that I'd go to university somewhere in Southern Ontario, and Dr. MacLeod called, and I didn't even hesitate to say yes. I was on a plane within about 2 days. I remember actually getting picked up at the airport, driven to Wolfville, and my first memories of the coach here and Coach Pavlov, sorry, and Dr. Bill MacLeod, sitting in Coach Heward's office. For those of you that played with Coach, he had this eyebrow that just lifted a little bit, and being really green to football still, I didn't know a lot about it, and they kept saying, well, what are you going to do? Where do you want to play? And my answer was middle linebacker, not knowing anything else. And finally, Coach Heward looked at me very sternly with that eyebrow and said, you look like Lucan the Wolf Boy, you need a haircut. And that was my start. That was how I got here.
Okay. I love that. And really, it culminated with a 1981 perfect season, Vanier Cup championship. Is there a moment or something that you can describe that really captures what made that team so special and different to get to that mountaintop?
There are so many incredible memories from that team. And man, I could spin yarns for a long, long time. The truth is, though, that team had a quality. And it wasn't an individual play or game. It was the character of the players on that team. Coach Heward gets so much credit, but Dan Pavlov and Bill MacLeod, they were all incredible leaders, and they inspired us to be the best and to do our best, and it worked. We worked together as a team. We played together as a team. We lived together as a team. We were a team, and that was what drove us to excellence.
Yeah, it sounds so very special. And by all accounts, you've kept up with many of your teammates and coaches throughout the years. You're a teacher and coach yourself in many different ways with young athletes. Tell us about how those relationships with your teammates back in the day and coaches helped shape you as a leader. And also, we heard at the end of the video there a little follow-up of, the work hard, dream harder statement you always say to your athletes. Take us into the core message of that as well.
It was something that I learned right while I was here. And I love coaching. I think because of the experiences that I had here. I was very, very fortunate to be around not only great players, but great coaches. And as a result, it's made me want to do that more. I'm lucky that, and I say that I'm lucky a lot. I'm lucky to have gone to Acadia. I am so honored to have been here and been part of this school and to still be a part of it. But the lessons I learned from my coaches just have made me a better person overall.
Yeah, fantastic. Some great insight. Congratulations once again. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Rhora. Okay, next we honor hockey great Darren Colbourne, a two-time All-Canadian and one of the top forwards in Axeman hockey history. Here's Darren's Acadia story on screen.
Today, we celebrate Darren Colbourne, an axeman whose elite scoring, relentless compete, and national recognition stamped him as one of the most dynamic forwards in Acadia men's hockey history. A two-time U Sports All-Canadian in 1989-90 and 1990-91, and an AUS All-Star, Darren also wore the maple leaf with Canada's national team in 1989-90. Before Acadia, he was drafted by the Oshawa Generals, but found great success over his final 3 OHL seasons with the Cornwall Royals. After university, he turned pro in the AHL and ECHL, where his prolific career culminated in induction into the ECHL Hall of Fame, proof of sustained excellence and impact on the game. The path to Wolfville began in Corner Brook, Newfoundland, on a road hockey rink with his brother and friends, and continued through junior hockey to a choice that felt like home. Family ties to Acadia, Don and Libby Colbourne Wells, Mike and Wendy, made the decision natural, and it didn't hurt that his girlfriend, now wife Lisa, was on campus too. From day one, he found a support system, living with Libby and Don, learning from Captain Kevin Stover, one of the best human beings I've ever played with, and thriving under head coach Tom Coolin, a leader who knew how to get the best from his players. Darren made an immediate impact at Acadia, then watched a stellar recruiting class arrive in his second season, future pros who raised the program's ceiling, and marked a special transition in axeman hockey. After 2 seasons in Garnet and Blue, he launched a 9-year professional journey across the United States, Germany, and Scotland before returning to Corner Brook in 1999. He kept competing in hockey and baseball until 2015 and credits sport for opening doors beyond the rink. His message to young athletes is simple: balance, commitment, and smart choices. Discover what's worth sacrificing so you can excel in both academics and athletics. Humbled by this honor, he offers thanks to the coaches, teammates, family, and community who shaped his journey. Please join us in welcoming Darren Colbourne into the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So
That's how you avoid a camera right there. That's,
I was in the back. I tried to get out of the way. But you traveled that well-worn path, from Corner Brook to Wolfville. You arrived here. I thought what was striking about the video is, you got to live with Libby and Don Wells. You studied alongside your wife, Lisa. You had a great support system arriving here at Acadia. Describe how that kind of helped you along your journey and really, developed you as a person and player.
I came in here as a 21-year-old, so most hockey players play junior and then they come here, but a lot of other sports, they come right out of high school. So I was supposed to be mature when I got here, but I wasn't. Not very often a student athlete shows up at the university and the athletic director picks you up at the airport. I think Don kind of wanted to know what he was receiving here into his home before I got presented to Libby. So on our drive back from the airport, I asked the wrong question. I said, "So Don, how late is the Axe open?" And without a blink of an eye in Don Wells fashion, he said, "I suggest you try and pursue a few other activities while you're on campus." So I said, "Yeah, I get what my role is here." But Michael was home as well, so that was like having a brother at home. Wendy was back and forth all the time, so I saw a lot of her, but Libby was the one who ran the show and was like a mother to me. So again, first year university, coming into that was, again, it was just like being at home. And obviously having your girlfriend here, who I didn't see much, she was like, "You're treated too well over there, you don't even going to get to see anymore." So no, I have everything I owe to the Wells family and how they took care of me in that first year. So thank you, and if I haven't said it enough, thank you again.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It led you to some great heights, all Canadian, skated with Team Canada. Aside from, Don's influence, you credit your Acadia captain, Kevin Stover, Coach Tom Coolin, with really setting some high standards and, helping what it takes to get to the top. Talk about those folks and what they meant to you as well.
Well, again, you're talking about fine people, and that's what all this is all about is people. And I look around the room and the inductees that they have here. I know of a couple, and I know of the team, and it's incredible just to see the people's journeys and their stories. But Kevin Stover was the guy that the first guy I met in the dressing room. One of the greatest leaders, and I've played a lot of sports and a lot of hockey especially, and probably one of the best leaders that I've ever been associated with. And I hope he gets that message, because for a leader who doesn't say very much, you have to be a very good leader. And that's when he did what he did and what he said, everybody followed. Tom Coolin, for him, I was probably the easiest recruit he ever got because of the Wellses and my future wife being here. But again, I'm humbled just to say that people would look at me and they say, they let you into Acadia? So again, it's just a humbling experience to be even associated with the Acadia name. And I told Brian when he called me, I said, Brian, I'm flabbergasted. I can't believe that I would get this honor from Acadia. And he said, well, man, you earned it. I said, well, I don't think so, but I said, thank you very much. And to the selection committee, thank you very much for even thinking of me.
Yeah, and you mentioned life after Acadia. You hear so many stories over homecoming about success after Acadia, how Acadia helped get you to that next phase of life. You had your long pro career before returning home to Corner Brook, storied career after that at home. Talk about how the Acadia experience helped shape you both for the pro ranks, got you ready for that, and then life beyond the game afterwards.
I think it taught me how to be a better teammate. None of us here are, as athletes, are the perfect teammate, but the players that I played with in my first year here, I had just come out of 4 years major junior, had very successful career, but major junior is about where you want to go next. It's about turning pro, that type of thing. I realized it wasn't for me at that time, so I got to come to Acadia and was very fortunate to play with some of the finest human beings, Ward Carlson, Dan Holden, Jamie Dubberly, all very successful men and people now that, just shaped the way I would start looking not at myself, but at the game and how you approach your teammates. I learned that I might want to marry my wife because I just spent 2 years with her, so that was good. But no, just being here and around really great people, support, I haven't got a bad thing to say, and I'm being quite honest about my time here at Acadia. It was the shortest time I ever spent anywhere with respect to a team, but I remember more about Acadia than I remember about anything else in my pro career before that, because the times were so much fun, and it was just an enjoyable experience, and thank you to anybody who had anything ever to do with it.
And thank you very much for your contributions to Acadia. Great story, great communication. I loved it. Fantastic. Thanks, folks. And once again, congratulations, Darren Colbourne. Appreciate it. Our next inductee, one of the Valley's finest, Emma Duinker. She stands along the Acadia greats of all time in women's basketball, recognized for helping lift the program to new levels of success at the time. Lots of great stories to share with Emma. Once again, to our video screen for Emma's story.
Today, we celebrate the career of Emma Duinker, an axwoman whose consistency, leadership, and love of the game helped elevate Acadia women's basketball. From 2007 to 2012, Emma steadily climbed from promising rookie to undeniable star. In her first season, she was AUS Rookie of the Year and a selection to both the AUS and U Sports All-Rookie teams. She followed with an AUS Second-Team All-Star nod in 2008-2009, then first-team honors in each of her final 2 seasons. In 2011-12, she earned U Sports Second-Team All-Canadian and helped lead Acadia to the AUS Championship. Emma's path began close to home, tagging along with her siblings to Kings Minor Basketball in Colbourne, falling in love with the sport one gym night at a time. When it came time for university, a shoulder injury narrowed her options to UMB and Acadia. She chose Acadia for its nutrition program and the chance to stay near family and community, and Acadia proved the perfect fit. Ask her for a favorite memory, and she points to 2012 at St. FX, an AUS title for a group that had become family, guided by head coach Bev Greenlaw. Sharing that moment with her sister Abby and high school teammates Lindsay Harris and Jasmine Parent made the victory unforgettable and symbolized the surge of excitement around Acadia athletics. After graduation, Emma continued her career professionally in Germany, carrying Acadia standards abroad. Today's honor, she says, shines just as brightly on the people around her, coaches, teammates, support staff, and a community that poured into her journey. It feels like they're all being inducted with me. For Emma Duinker, this induction is a bright final stamp on a playing career built on work, joy, and connection, and a lasting chapter in the story of Acadia basketball.
Please welcome to the stage, Emma Duinker. I think we might be good.
Hello?
Oh, we're all set. We're all set. Your dad's in music. You're used to the microphone in your hand.
That's right.
That's great. So we just heard about that 2011 championship. We'll start kind of where your career ended, I guess, here to begin. It had been since 1950 since the Acadia Axemen won a championship prior to that year. What a special group it was. You can see the turnout of all your teammates here today. Talk about the glue of that team, what made it so special to finally kind of get the program over that hump at the time.
Yeah, I think kind of following along what others have said so far, the the family and community aspect of that team specifically, I think led to our success in the end. The group, we had a saying for the group, 15 strong. The team was made up of 15 people, and not everybody dressed every game, but Coach Greenlaw and our coaching staff, had helped build just a family where it didn't matter if a player was playing or even dressing or if we were starting. We all had some sort of a role to support the group and the success of that team. And so that's the family piece of the team, but I think also the community that was fostered. And everybody in this room probably understands the Acadia community that follows sports. And at that time, for sure, we had such a strong community following and had developed a wonderful young female athlete group that followed us, and parents and staff, and the support around us, I think, helped in our success there. And I guess lastly, I'll speak to Ray Ivany at the time was the president, and he supported our team incredibly. And so, yeah, I guess that just speaks to the strength in support that we had. Jim MacLeod follows into that as well. And I could go on with the list of people that kind of supported us, but the group was strong, but the support around us was as well.
Yeah, and to follow up on the community piece of where you came from coming into Acadia, you come to chose to study nutrition here, had some high school teammates with you, Lindsay and some others. The biggest thing I think, thinking of that inspiration to kind of local folks is they saw you come from Horton High School, come down the road to Acadia, and achieve that success. So talk about what your community support and knowing that, those tough days in the gym that, those are the people you're putting in the work for, really kind of help fuel you moving forward.
Yeah, I'm, as the video said, I started off at Kings Minor Basketball Association and followed my brothers there, and then eventually my sister Abby and I played there as well. Once we got to Acadia, we started working with the youth in the community through the Junior Axe program, and we built quite an incredible following of young people. Abby and I were just talking about it today, how she works with people now who were coached by us, and I'm not sure if I remember them, but they speak of watching us and being excited to come to the games. But knowing that there were other people looking up to us, I think that meant a lot to us. And knowing that what the performance that we had on the court, but also that work that we're putting in when nobody can see, ultimately will impact those young people. And I think that was really important to us and is now as well, as that kind of development of young females specifically, I think drove our passion. And, you know, we'd have to get up on Sunday mornings and go do those sessions. But I remember feeling kind of energized to get going and viewing it a little bit as a workout and doing the workout with the athletes. But yeah, that support and knowing that we were kind of being fueled by those young athletes was pretty special.
Yeah, and you mentioned your sister Abby. Not, very rarely in university sport does someone get to play with a sibling. You had an amazing support system around you here. Then your career takes you to pro in Germany. Lots of success there. On to coaching now. You have a game this afternoon later in Halifax. Talk about, once you left that kind of bubble of Wolfville, of Acadia, of your family, there were some lessons you took from being here as a student athlete that helped you for that pro time. You speak of it as how it's still guiding you today, that time abroad. Share a little bit about that. And we heard Darren talk about that as well. So it's going to be a theme here today. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think coming back to the community piece, and my time at Acadia and being away where it's can be quite lonely, away from family and away from your support system, helped me. Unfortunately, I didn't learn the lesson, I think, until probably 10 years later, but helped me understand the value of people, of family, of community, of teammates. All of my family members are a huge support of me, my brothers and my mom and dad and my sister Abby, who are all here today. But I think I just came to understand that wherever you go, your connections and network and strength with other people will help you be more successful. And even in my time overseas, the small clubs there, from the youth level to professional, are so incredibly supportive, and it's like they're everything in their community. And so even within the kind of lonely part of it, there was this wonderful community that I experienced there too. And just, I think the people that go out of their way to help you and support you, and I even see it now with the university team that I coach, our experience wouldn't be possible without the community around us. And so just the value of those people. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention a few of the people that would be supporters for me, but like Coach Bev Greenlaw and Ian McMillan, who are here today. Again, Jim MacLeod. We had such wonderful support staff, and our physio, and the list goes on. My teammates, Jazz, Abby, Lindsay, and Steph, who are here today as well. So I think we get the point there, but lots of value in people.
Yeah, so many folks to mention, and you've affected so many folks along the way in such a positive light. Thanks for this. Congratulations once again. One of the best to ever do it, folks, Emma Duinker.
Thanks, Adam.
Our next inductee, Janna Slevinsky, was a force in women's rugby, making absolute waves here in Wolfville before stepping out onto the national stage in a major way. Let's take a look at Janna's story now.
This morning, we celebrate the remarkable career of Janna Slevinsky, a proud Axwoman whose impact on Acadia women's rugby and beyond has been extraordinary. Janna came to Wolfville from Edmonton, Alberta in 2011, having never heard of Acadia until head coach Matt Darren reached out. One quick search convinced her this was the right place, and it proved to be a perfect fit. She made an immediate impact, earning AUS All-Star and U Sports First Team All-Canadian honors in both 2013 and 2014. Among her fondest memories was helping the Axwomen achieve a milestone victory over long-dominant St. FX, a moment she shared with teammates who had become like family. That spirit of resilience and teamwork would define her career. After graduating, Janna moved on to the national stage. She joined Canada's 15s program, played professionally in England, and embraced every challenge that came her way. In 2018, her hard work was recognized when she was named Rugby Canada's Senior Women's Player of the Year, one of the sport's highest honors. Janna credits her time at Acadia for setting her on that path, shaping her as an athlete, a professional, and a person. Now retired from rugby and thriving in her career as an occupational therapist, She reflects on Acadia as the place where she discovered who she wanted to become. She hopes her induction inspires future Axe women and Axe men to follow their passions, building meaningful relationships, and embrace the process of growth. We are proud to welcome Janna Slevinsky into the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame, a champion, a leader, and a true example of what it means to wear the red and blue.
Please welcome to the stage, Janna Slevinsky. All right, Janna, there's a lot of accomplishments up there to get through. We'll see how much we can go in this time we have. But we'll take it back to that interesting piece when Coach Durant was kind of recruiting you here. You said that you did one Google search only on Wolfville, and it told you all you needed to know to commit to come here. What did you find in that search? And coming from a city to a kind of a small town university, what did that do for you as a student athlete?
Yeah, so growing up in Western Canada in Edmonton, I didn't really have the opportunity to hear about, smaller universities on the East Coast. Instagram wasn't really a thing then, so I had to resort to Google. And previously, I'd been looking at universities closer to home, and one of the selling points of one of the schools I was looking at was there's tunnels here that connect all of the buildings, so when it's minus 40, you don't have to go outside. So then when I looked up Acadia and I saw, I think everybody here knows that picture from the top of the hill overlooking campus. You see Raymond Field. It's like, yep, that'll do. That looks great. So I was very happy to come here.
Yeah, that's awesome, and we were happy to have you. The program went on to kind of major heights during your time. They mentioned that first victory over St. FX in the biggest moment. That was the team in, AUS women's rugby forever, it seemed like before then. You guys and your squad kind of took them out and started a fantastic run from the program from there. Take us into that season and maybe into that last kind of game where was there a build up to it, something with momentum, something within your team that you can kind of describe that really kind of helped you guys kind of slay the dragon on that one?
Yeah, for sure. So at the start of every season, and Matt, I'm not sure if you still do this, but while I was playing, you would give us kind of a bit of a vision, and I think that year was the tides are turning, and as cheesy as it was, the tides were turning. And I think there's some really cool things that happen in sport, and one of them is that feeling of flow, when things just are working out and you feel invincible. And then the other piece, I think, is momentum. So when you, and as a team, you're all kind of like looking at each other at each breakdown, you're like, we're doing this. And you keep building up on that over and over, kind of watching the time get to that 80 minutes. And afterward, it was like the best feeling. I think we celebrated like we won the championship, but I also think that was well-deserved.
Absolutely. And you took that with you. It's been a theme, obviously, to your career after Acadia. Rugby Canada Player of the Year, an accomplishment second to none, in rugby in the annals of Acadia alumni. What advice, would you give to current Axe women and Axe men on, the habits it took you from here to kind of maintain those professional habits down the road, in all those professional ranks, and clearly worked out great for you?
Yeah, so I think a lot of athletes that find success will say this, is that there's always work to be done. You're never going to be perfect. It doesn't exist in sport. So I think it's a lot of kind of self-reflection and being willing to admit where your weaknesses are, and then finding people to support you through that, and to help you kind of grow and develop, and continue to strengthen your game to become the best version of yourself that you can be.
Take note, Axemen and Axewomen. That's good advice. Congratulations on everything. Folks, Janna Slevinsky. All right, our next inductee needs no introduction. A legend of Acadia, and I mentioned one of the best to ever do it, maybe ever of all time. We're inducting Jim MacLeod into our Acadia Sports Hall of Fame here today. This is a fantastic story, again, second to none. I'll direct your attention to the screen now for this one.
Today, we recognize the remarkable career and lasting legacy of Dr. James Jim MacLeod, an individual whose vision, passion, and commitment transformed athletic therapy at Acadia University and across Canada. A Cape Breton native, Jim earned his master's in sports medicine at Indiana State in 1985 and his PhD at the University of Alberta in 1995. Certified as an athletic therapist since 1977, he became a lifelong member of the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association, later inducted into the CATA Hall of Fame in 2005. Jim first arrived at Acadia in 1981, choosing a part-time faculty role in the School of Physical Education alongside serving as head athletic therapist for the varsity programs. From the very beginning, he envisioned a program where students could learn and grow as professional athletic therapists, long before accredited programs existed in Canada. His impact extended far beyond Wolfville. Within CATA, Jim served as Vice President, National President, and Chair of the inaugural Program Accreditation Committee. His leadership helped define the national standards for accredited post-secondary athletic therapy programs, laying the groundwork for what would eventually flourish at Acadia. Thanks to Jim's decades of perseverance and leadership, Acadia's School of Kinesiology earned CATA accreditation in 2021 for its athletic therapy option. That same vision came full circle in 2023 with the opening of the Jim MacLeod Athletic Therapy Clinic, and enduring tribute to more than 40 years of service to Acadia, to the Atlantic region, and to the profession he loved. Beyond campus, Jim proudly represented Canada on the world stage. He served as chief therapist at the 1988 Paralympics in Seoul and the 1992 Olympic Games in Barcelona, and later as assistant chief therapist at the Sydney 2000 Olympics. His expertise and leadership supported athletes competing at the highest levels of international sport. For his students, colleagues, and athletes, Jim MacLeod is remembered not only for his expertise, but for his mentorship, his passion for learning, and his deep belief in the power of community. We honor Dr. James MacLeod, Professor Emeritus, builder of programs, mentor to generations, and a true pioneer, as we induct him into the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame.
Folks, please welcome to the stage Dr. MacLeod, Dr. Sonia McVeigh, and Acadia's current head athletic therapist, Curtis Arsenault. Wherever you'd like, sir.
I'm always organized.
Curtis, I'll give you that one. We'll share them. We'll pass the mics. So, Jim, what an honor it is to be sitting up here with you. Congratulations once again. You know, you're here with just two of the many, many students, you've mentored and brought along the way. Tell us, what motivated you to create the athletic therapy option in the School of Kinesiology when you did?
Well, I graduated from high school. It's not going to be a long story, but I'll tell you this anyway. Graduated from high school and went to military college in Victoria, BC. And I realized it's fun, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. But during that time, one of my colleagues in a soccer game got hit in mid-shaft of the lower leg, and it was displaced. And the way he was handled by the military people was awful, in my opinion, screaming and hollering. So I always thought about that, and then I came back to Acadia, worked at Dal when they first opened it up. And then at Acadia, the therapist here with Acadia went on to studies in the U.S. And so she called me up when I could cover football, and so I flew up essentially from Halifax pretty fast, and I decided that, yes, it is what I wanted to do, and it so happens that 1981 we won the Stanley Cup. the National Cup, and it was a good time. Good. I like the city, the town. I like the atmosphere. Small school, and so I came here for that, just to develop, to look after the athletes first, and then after that, other things. So.
And you did that second to none. Cape Breton never tells a short story anyway. We'll
No,
give you that one for sure.
You guys grab a coffee for a while.
Curtis, I'll go to you next. As the current head athletic therapist here at Acadia, you've entered a position, following in the footsteps of someone who put over 3 decades into the job at, the most elite levels. What does it mean to you now to be the one to shepherd this program and move things forward in this space?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. It's honestly an honor to be sitting up here with Jim and Dr. McVeigh. And, just having been taught by Jim, having been Jim being a role model, a mentor, and honestly like a second father to me, father away from home, it's incredible just to see his path and what he's kind of created over the years. Funny enough, back when I was a student during our kin banquet, my grad year, our 4th year class, we all dressed up as our profs, and I was the one who dressed up as Jim.
Oh, there it is.
It's back up there. So dyed my hair white, figured I looked like him a little bit, and kind of moved on. And funny enough, that night I actually told Jim someday I would come back for his job. I don't think he thought as soon as 4 years later, but sure enough, 4 years later, I took over.
I had to wait 4 years to get up here.
So yeah, it was that was a fun night, obviously, and just to come back and to your point, to take over from Jim with as much time and dedication that he's put into a program, mentored so many individuals, coming in with massive shoes to fill, and the legacy that Jim kind of created during his time at Acadia. It wasn't easy for sure. The first few years when I was at Acadia, honestly 2-3 years, I was considered the new Jim. I don't even know if people knew my name, but I was the new Jim. But honestly, it's kind of an honor to me just to be in that same sentence as him. So it's to take over after such a legacy, and I just hope that Jim is honored with where the program is now, where the department is, what what Jim's created, and continue to strive forward with the foundation that he's laid and what he's built. And it's a testament to what he's done and his time at Acadia, where we are now, and honestly, a lot of the programs throughout the country are in a similar boat. When people come down to Acadia and ask about Jim and how he's doing and where he's at, it's connections not only in the Atlantic provinces, but throughout the country, internationally, with having been to the Olympics, and it's a feat like none other. So honored to be sitting here, honored to be taking over after him, and it's a pretty special moment.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. That's great. So Dr. McVeigh, your list of accomplishments here is long. So you worked with Jim as an Acadia student back in the sport therapy program in the mid-90s. You're currently a spinal cord injury medicine specialist at the QE2 Health Sciences Center in Halifax. You were Acadia sport medicine physician for 18 years, and you're now the sport medicine physician at St. Mary's University. So can you share a little bit about the impact Jim had on you as a learner, and how those kind of teachings carry forward with you in your practice?
Sure, and I apologize for a few notes. I've known Jim since 1995, so I had to write a few things down. But I first met Jim, I was sitting out, I don't know if you remember, I was sitting outside your office in 1995. He had just come back from out west finishing his PhD. And I was sitting there because I wanted to ask him if I could please join the sport therapy team, the program there, because I was a biology student at the time, and at that time it was just the phys ed students. And so it was very unique in that he would pair students at that time with the varsity teams, and it was to learn how to assess and manage sports injuries. And little did I know at that time that Jim actually give me a chance, and saying yes would actually change the trajectory of my life. But it's not just me. There's countless of students that are here that would say the same thing, that Jim has had such an impact on their careers and their life as well, whether as an athlete or whether as a student of his. So you asked about, my impact, his impact on me as a learner, and I think Jim taught by example. He managed any emergent issue, whether it be on the field, on the ice, and he did it with grace, and he did it with a real professional calmness that is really hard to come by in some of those situations. Jim was a genius in getting athletes back on the field of play. And for those of us who are old enough to know the show MacGyver, although a lot of the inductees, I realized I was just thinking like they came 20 years after I was here with you, Jim. But so he would MacGyver anything from a random item from Canadian Tire. He would go to the trunk of his car and he'd pull out things that, whether it be a tire tube or whether it be a piece of camping gear that would be finangled by duct tape into something. I remember one time that he figured out how to get a certain hockey player's heel that had these huge blisters, because that hockey player refused to wear socks in their skates. But how to get that heel into that skate was a feat. I still to this day don't know how he managed to do it, and that player went back to play. So he really has unique ways and a genius in how to do that, and we all learned for that. And Jim really understood athletes, and he really understood sport. He knew discreetly. I remember sometimes we as student therapists would move stuff around in the back room, and he would come very quietly and put that hockey player's stick back on that particular brick outside of the dressing room, because it was a superstition of that particular player. And he knew if that hockey stick was not on that brick, it would be a bad game for that hockey player. So he was great that way. And he would constantly provide us with those practical tidbits, and we called them back then Jim-isms. So he would show you how to examine a specific ligament in a knee, or how to properly assess for an Achilles tear, but not in a way that was in the textbook. It would be the way Jim did it. And he did it, and he showed it to us, and it made sense more than anything written in a textbook could ever make sense. And so in that way, you taught us because it stuck with us, because we understood it as opposed to memorizing something. But Jim also led us through some really devastating sports injuries that have happened, and life-changing injuries, and he helped both those of us who assisted that athlete in that moment, but also those of us who were the athletes themselves. And he helped us to navigate the aftermath with both his wisdom and his insight and his ability to look at the bigger picture and somehow to make it a learning moment as well. Some of us do remember also crying in Jim's office. I don't know if there's anybody in the audience. There's a few of us that have cried in Jim's office, whether it's after a bad test, after a breakup, after making a big mistake, being unable to make a decision, or just feeling terrible about a decision that you made. How many of us have gone in there right next to that old framed picture of you, and you're standing here and Princess Diana is over here? And Jim standing there so proud. If you've been in his office, you know that picture. And it was right beside the picture of his girls, right? So, Megan, Kelsey, Joanna, and Janet were there as well. So he had this way of making time and managed to somehow let you make the decision, or you figure out how to solve the problem with whatever you thought you couldn't solve when you walked into his office. And he often said, "This too shall pass." And it did. It really did. I know I'm going on a little bit, but I'm just
Please
a couple
do.
other things. You asked about how Jim's teachings have carried on in medicine, and I think it's important to really highlight just how clinically good Jim is. He's the best musculoskeletal clinician that I've ever worked with, whether in medicine or beyond. I learned more clinical examination skills and how to examine joints and sports injuries than on any rotation in medical school or in my residency. And the majority of what I use in my day-to-day practice in sport medicine and musculoskeletal examination and other patients in the hospital are basically from what Jim has taught us. And one of the things that I do in my role at the hospital and Dalhousie Medical School is developed the program for teaching musculoskeletal clinical skills, and it's 90% of it is what Jim taught me. So I think those of us that are here who've gone into careers in the healthcare setting, whether that be athletic therapy, whether that be physiotherapy, occupational therapy, chiropractic therapy, or physicians, I think we only realized how good Jim was and the value of what he taught us after we left Acadia, and how lucky we were to have such a master of sports injuries teach us. Jim's assessment of any athlete was generally always accurate. If he said it was torn, it was torn. And it was quite amazing. And in fact, just yesterday, I was in a medical resident teaching session, and we were examining the knee. And two Jimisms actually came up, Jim. One was the way to position the knee in a certain way so that you can bring out the LCL. And you can palpate it, and that's not in any medical textbook, that's not anywhere, that's a Jimism. And then the other thing that we were talking about and I showed was how to know where the anatomy of the ACL is. So Jim showed this, if you cross your fingers and you put it over your knee, that tells you where the ACL originates and where it goes in the bone. So what I wanted to highlight is that one of Jim's biggest legacies, I think, is the skills that he taught us are being taught year after year to medical students and medical residents who come through Dalhousie University, as well as those medical residents and students that come from across the country for electives, who are learning how to examine a shoulder, how to examine a knee and an ankle. So the next time you go see a doctor for that sore knee or for that sore hip, chances are is that doctor is using some of their clinical skills that came from Jim. I'm almost done. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel, and that's one of a famous quote. Jim made us feel important as students. He made us feel like we mattered, whether we were an athlete or whether we were a student. He made us think that we could do whatever we wanted to do, we could, if we just put ourselves out of that comfort zone and do hard things sometimes. And we did. And many of us have gone on to do great things because of what Jim taught us, the skills he gave us, and most importantly, he instilled in us to have the confidence in ourselves, whether we were a student or an athlete or both. He encouraged us to feel proud of what we accomplished, both while at Acadia and beyond. And so Jim, we're also very proud of you and what you have accomplished. And it was an honor to have learned and to work with you both as a student therapist, a professor, and a friend. So congratulations on this well-deserved accomplishment.
Thank you.
Dr. McVeigh, really appreciate that. You know, you could have gone on even longer. No one would have said a word. That was fantastic. Sir, you're everything that's right about Acadia. You know, I think we'd all agree your name will forever be synonymous with athletic therapy and Acadia athletics. Congratulations once again. And I'll ask everyone to join me in one more round of applause for the legend, Dr. Jim MacLeod. All right, fantastic stuff there. We're at our final induction of the 2025 class of the Acadia Sport Hall of Fame. We now celebrate the 1987-88 men's basketball team, a powerhouse squad that went 17-1 in the regular season and capped it off with a national silver medal along with many conference and national honors. Let's turn our attention to the screen now for more on this great team.
Today, we honor one of the most accomplished teams in Acadia basketball history, the 1987-88 Axemen. Under head coach Dave Nutbrown, recognized as both AUS and CIS Coach of the Year, the Axemen blended elite talent with disciplined, unselfish play. They rolled to a 17-1 regular season record and finished as national silver medalists, stamping the season as one of the finest ever in garnet and blue. The roster was stacked and selfless. Peter Morris earned AUS MVP, first-team All-Canadian, and CIS Tournament All-Star honors. First-year guard Wayne Taylor burst onto the scene as AUS Rookie of the Year. Kevin Vino was an AUS first-team All-Star and CIS second-team All-Canadian. Tyrone Carvery added a CIS Tournament All-Star nod. But ask anyone from that group what made them special, and they'll point first to the bond, a no-quit attitude, daily accountability, and a brotherhood that stretched well beyond game nights. They pushed each other in practice, trusted each other under pressure, and enjoyed being together off the court, teammates who became family. There wasn't so much a run as there was a relentless standard. Night after night, the Axemen brought toughness, composure, and belief. That identity showed on the biggest stage in the national semifinal against perennial powerhouse Victoria. Champions in 7 of the previous 8 years, with a towering front court. Few outside the locker room believed. Everyone inside did. In a gripping finish, Acadia delivered a 3-point victory that still echoes in Axemen lore. A moment of collective resolve that defined their season. Though the national title narrowly eluded them, the 1987-88 Axemen left no doubt about their legacy. Their achievements were measured not only in wins and awards, but in how they represented Acadia, with heart, grit, and unity. Being welcomed into the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame affirms what they built together, the brotherhood, the sacrifice, the laughter, and the standard they all set for future generations. We proudly induct the 1987-88 Acadia Axemen men's basketball team into the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame, champions of character, excellence, and the enduring spirit of our university.
Please welcome to the stage 1987 team members Kevin Vino, Peter Morris, and head coach of the Axemen, Coach Dave Nutbrown. Yeah, certainly. With any other of those team members, please do feel free to come up for the photo. Yes, sir. I think Peter wants you in the middle, I'm not sure. How about we do one after the ceremony? How does that sound? Yeah. We'll welcome you guys back to the stage at the end. How about that? Oh, we're getting there. Okay. We're almost there? Okay. Live TV. There you go. Coach, I hope it wasn't this hard to get them to play defense. I don't know. All right, so some great accomplishments for this squad. Congratulations to you all. Peter, I'll start with you. You know, it seems like a very tight-knit group. Take us back to some moment that you might remember through, you know, back in the day, and particularly that last season. What makes this group so special?
Well, it was a pretty special group. We had obviously a lot of, that we were talking about last night, a lot of off-the-court incidents, events that I can't really get into too many details, Coach. We all still have a little bit of fear of coaching at Brown, so. But so I'll stick to the on-the-court stuff. We had a great series with Brandon that year. We played them 3 times. I think we beat them in the Naismith tournament at Waterloo early in the season. Then we lost to them at home. I think it was overtime at Stu Aberdeen in the final there. And of course, the final didn't turn out the way we wanted. But really, the highlight was the national semifinal against Victoria. You know, we had a packed house at the Metro Center. They had a great team, a great coach. We had a great team too. We had a better coach. So that was definitely the highlight of the season and moving on to the final.
Yeah, without question. You know, and Kevin, I'll bring it to you next. You know, you have a real championship eye for basketball, if there ever was one. You've gone on to be a championship coach afterwards. Both of your kids have won AUS championships, been AUS MVPs. Using that lens, tell us about what makes this group able to kind of get to that winning level and getting to that national title, or, well, to the national level.
Well, when I look back at this unforgettable season, what stands out isn't just the games that we played, but I think it's the people that we became. You know, every player started that season, including Danny Steele, with a relentless grit and a sort of a take no prisoner attitude that sort of became, you know, our mantra. When you look at what we were pushed to do, Nutsy, or Nutter, as we called him, was the force behind our success, and we were very successful with what he did in that situation. But what really makes the season special went far beyond basketball. I think it was the brotherhood that we created, the laughs, the late nights, you know, the unsolicited hanging out, and the genuine love that we had for each other. Now, mind you, when we practiced, we beat the crap out of each other, and I probably was the worst one. Yes. And I apologize to all of my teammates here publicly because I was sometimes not a really nice teammate. But when we finished, we were more than just a team, we were a family. And that family connection, you know, of loyalty and camaraderie and commitment, it made us better, closer, stronger. And, you know, there's a term that I heard a couple of months ago. It's a Zulu language word called Ubuntu, which means I am because we were. And that's exactly what we were. You know, I am who I am today, partly because of the experiences that I shared with these guys, because we shared a bond, because we were more than, you know, teammates, we were brothers. And I'd also be amiss if I didn't mention the fact that we started that national championship game with 5 Nova Scotians playing as starters. You know, we had the Valley represented, the South Shore, Cape Breton, and Metro. And I don't think that's ever happened before, and I don't think it's ever happened since. And so somehow, Nutsy had the ability to draw the best out of this province and the best out of the best. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic stuff. Yes. And Coach, it seems like you've assembled, you know, such a special group for that season. Decades of basketball for you. Take us with that coach's eye. What made this group get to be so elite?
Well, first of all, the first requirement is they have to be good players. You can push them, chase them around, do whatever you want. But if they don't have the ability to play the game, we wouldn't have accomplished what we did. So getting away from everything else, I was fortunate enough to coach good players. And the effort they made, I think, it was almost like you owed it to your teammate to make the effort. It wasn't something that somebody could push you to. It was something that you had to realize. And once you realized where you wanted to be and what you wanted to achieve, it made it a whole lot better. Kevin made reference to the 5 Nova Scotians, and we were very proud of that. But that's to take nothing away from the good players we had over the years who weren't Nova Scotians. It was, they all seemed, once they were together for a period of time, geography didn't come into it. You got down and you played. And for that, we were a close bond. I'm disappointed for one reason. Thinking coming in here, I got to coach for 38 years in all kinds of different situations. And I wish Charles Acadia could have been here today. He was the fifth starter. He was the guy that I probably browbeat more than anybody else that I ever coached. He came back for it every day. And I think back over the years, you have a lot of different situations evolve. And the one that stands out to me of all the ones, and that's to take nothing away from the people that were here, but we make reference to the night we beat Victoria in the semifinals. And with about 30 seconds left, Charles is out there, he's digging, he's done everything he could, and Victoria had the ball. We were up 2 or 3. A young guy, I can't even remember his name, had scored 32 against us. I should have remembered his name. But anyway, he comes down the lane, Charles steps up and takes a charge. We got possession of the ball. That won the game, that one play. And it would pass over, a lot of people. But for me, of all the 38 years, that play comes back to me all the time. And to give some praise, some further praise to these guys here, and I'm making no excuses for the fact that we didn't win the final against Brandon. I'm not sure if everything was exactly the way it should have been. We'd have beaten them anyway. We had beaten them at the Naismith to win that tournament. We actually played an exhibition game against them at Acadia before the Aberdeen tournament. They beat us in overtime. We played them in the final of that tournament, and they beat us in overtime. And then when we got to the final, we had a problem. We didn't have the legs that I thought we should have. But when I look back on it, we probably finished the semifinal somewhere around 11:30 the night before. By the time we had something to eat, get back into the rooms, get settled down, and tried to prepare for the next day, we played the final at 1 o'clock. And we seemed to be a step slow. I remember Peter got himself in some foul trouble in the first half, and we tried to guard him away from that. And it was
just bringing that up, right?
But it was a situation where we played our butt off. We could have been 100% ready. They might have beat us anyway. But I'd like to have played the first game and had the time to prepare as much as we wanted to. But for these guys here, as a group, they were friends, they were teammates, and they were competitors, and they did it all together. And I'm very appreciative to have had the chance to coach a group like this.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. So folks, that does bring us to the end of tonight's ceremony. A couple of housekeeping items. We'll get you guys to stay, we'll get another picture, and we'll invite all of our other inductees to come up as people file out, and we'll get a group photo there. One final congratulations to everyone here for everything you've accomplished. A major thank you from Acadia Athletics and everyone who got to follow you, I'm sure, through the years. Thank you folks both in the building and online watching our webcast for joining us. Enjoy the rest of homecoming, and we'll see you back here next year for the 2026 Acadia Hall of Fame ceremony. Thank you.
Congratulations, Coach Rhora. Congratulations, Coach Rhora.